I'm being hunted by gangstalkers. Please help me. I woke up in the back of a Greyhound bus coated in sweat. Maybe it was the 115-degree Nevada sun cutting through the windows, or maybe my body was trying to warn me the bus had stopped an hour before it was supposed to. I got up as soon as I opened my eyes and tried to figure out what happened. I walked through the aisle towards the driver, parting the sea of aimless losers and failed criminals until I got to the front where I could see the driver wrenching on something in front of the bus. Damn cactus! Some tobacco-stained voice gargled behind me. I turned around and saw a guy who looked like he should have been in the band Queensryche. Long-dyed jet black curly hair, jeans, black vest. I climbed out of the bus and landed on the scalding pavement. As I started walking away from the front of the bus, I thought to myself, the last map I saw said there was a town in that direction. I think it was called Alameda. God damn it. I whipped around and saw the bus driver on his hands and knees at the front of the bus trying to pry something out from underneath it. I saw way too much portly belly hair and butt crack for my liking, so I went back about my business of walking up the road. I just stopped to kick some idiot off and it turns out I ran over a dog or something, the driver went on even though I stopped listening. His follow-up was enough to stop me in my tracks though. I was fairly certain there weren't any dogs wandering around the lonely desert we were in, and the idea that we had been stopped for some time before I woke up was concerning. I shot a look back to where the driver was trying to wrench the dog out, and I was able to gain a vantage point that allowed me to see that it wasn't a dog that was stuck under the front bumper. It was a beat-up, bloody blonde girl covered in tattoos. Think Nancy Spungen, but worse. God damn it, indeed. The driver started stammering nonsense and making apologies once he saw the young woman. Then the woman flinched. She was still alive. I said a silent little prayer for him and watched the woman stab a butterfly knife into his stomach. I said another little prayer for myself before I started to run away, even though I didn't think I would need it. I had a good enough head start so she wouldn't be able to catch up. It would take her at least a minute to pierce into that poor driver's stomach and realize he wasn't who she was looking for. I knew it was futile, but I tried to puke it out one more time. No success. All I did was empty my stomach of the Hostess cherry pie the sad grandma on the bus had been so kind to give me after she saw how skinny I was. It didn't taste bad coming up though. At least the vomit distracted me momentarily from regretting the decision I had made in the California desert a week before. I had figured the man at Coachella that I robbed was full of BS, spilling nonsense just so I wouldn't pinch his stash. I was wrong. It was a genius idea until it wasn't. I crashed Coachella parties at Airbnbs and threatened rich kids into giving me their stashes and then selling their belongings and keeping what I wanted for myself. I was a rough 38-year-old who looked like a former biker that could have been an extra in Sons of Anarchy because that's exactly what I was. Well, except for the former part. My only mistake was taking this round little orange ball. The kid I was robbing warned me not to take it. I should have listened. He didn't say exactly what the orange mushroom thing I stole would do, but I have learned a few things about it since the moment I swallowed it in a motel room in Palm Desert. It had convinced a bunch of brain-dead, supernatural, tattooed hipster punks to chase after me and murdering anyone who got in their way. They also searched every one of their stomachs, looking for that orange mushroom, I assume. The undead hipster punks would only appear when I stopped moving. Whether by foot or by vehicle, they showed up as soon as I did. It was similar to how a weeping angel worked. There was no sign of when this was going to stop. I had tried to vomit up the orange mushroom countless times. Every attempt resulted in failure. Those aforementioned punks made quick work of the only woman I had ever loved. I checked in with my mom in Riverside as soon as the effects kicked in, and it seemed like the world was speeding around me at 100 miles per hour. I was horrified to find her staying at a $55 a night vagabond inn by the freeway, chain smoking. She took a night off for me and let her permanently screwed up only son crash on the spare bed in her room until he slept off the nightmare mushroom. Remember the thing where you were a kid, where you would get the other kid to sleep closer to the door, so if a monster or murderer or both came in, they would get them first? Well, that albeit unintentional situation cost my mother her life and saved mine. I woke in the middle of the night feeling relatively okay and listening to the sound of my dear mother gasping for air. I looked over and saw some pale, skinny rat of a man choking her on the other full-sized bed in the room. I watched for a moment as he then whipped out a switchblade and aimed it at her stomach. The man disappeared by the time I jumped off of my bed and onto him. So did my mom. I checked her vitals. She was gone. I called the proper authorities, did my best to appear sober. They ruled the death an overdose. I didn't argue. She was dead. Who cares now? I moved on, and by moved on, I mean checked into the room next to the one where my mom died and tried to get some more sleep. Turns out I wasn't able to sleep at all. I woke up in what must have been 5 minutes after I fell asleep to see another damn punk breaking down the door. I jumped up out of bed and dashed towards the door. The grungy punk clawed the hell out of me on my way out, but I was free. I ran up and down the nasty streets of Riverside until I reached the edge of town and ran out into the desert. I was about 100 yards into pure sand when I stopped to pick some sharp brush out of my sock and saw the punk again. Well, not the same one. This one was different. He had a shaved head, no tattoos, possibly a straight edge, but the same dead look in his eyes. For all of you picturing a slow, dumb walker from The Walking Dead right now lumbering at me looking like the lead singer from Minor Threat, forget about it. This guy was a dead singer for Ian McKay, but he moved like Lawrence Taylor on an end rush, or Michael Strahan, if you don't know anything about football. I started running again. I turned around after a while. He was gone. I stopped. A friend of his appeared. A friend as in a girl who looked a lot like him with the same level of pursuit. That's when I realized the first rule of what was going on. If I stopped, they would find me. I walked as long as I could, until I ran a couple of marathons and couldn't move anymore. Then I decided to test out if general motion was all I needed to keep them at bay. I bought the longest Greyhound bus ticket I could afford, out to the Nevada desert. I figured a flat, unpopulated setting without buildings or trees would give me the best chance at spotting any of the relentless punks once they came, and if I had to endure another attack. It worked. I avoided the punks as long as the bus was moving. I always took the first seat I could find and ran off the thing as fast as I could when it stopped. This worked until a weekend when I had to transfer and take a seat near the back and the bus stopped unexpectedly. I had stopped. They had found me and I was caught off guard. Something had changed this time. Maybe the mushroom had kicked in harder. Maybe the punks had officially band together. Maybe I was just a cursed idiot destined to have a life that was forgettable, other than the fact I was extremely selfish and got wiped off the earth at the age of 38. No matter the reason, there were now about 20 of the hostile punks circling around me in the endless desert as the sun started to dip down under the cover of the Sierra Nevada mountains to the west. The punks were about 20 yards away from me on all sides. They had me in a lone cactus cornered in the sand just as the night approached. I tried running circles as fast as I could as a last-ditch effort to lose them, but it didn't work. They just kept running at me and were on me within 10 seconds. It was time to fight. I felt the punks swiping at my neck, my eyes, a jagged nailed finger got stuck in my damn ear. Nothing was off limits. I felt a couple blades start piercing through my pants. These guys fought without rules. So did I. More than a few nights in jail, and a few of Mom's boyfriends who claimed to be brawlers that weren't afraid to take on kids, had made me more than capable of fending for myself, even against what seemed like an entire football team of rabid Slipknot fans. I took a few out with hard throat punches. Some eye gouges helped get some more off my back. Then a sweep of the leg knocked down enough so I could make a run away from all of them, back towards the road, towards the faint light of the stars and the moon. I had lost about half a pint of blood. My adversaries were out of sight, or at least just lost in the dark when I reached the road and I saw headlights. Goddamn headlights. I literally laughed like a maniac when I saw them coming. I employed a trick that one of my murderous friends apparently had used to stop my bus. I laid down across the road and waited for the vehicle to approach and either stop to help or run me over. Not a bad outcome at this point. Lying there was sweet relief. I had been on the run for days at this point, racking up hundreds of miles on my feet with almost no sleep. I saw that the vehicle was a trashy mid-2000s Chevy sedan as it approached. It stopped about 2 feet from my skull. I let out the deepest breath I had in quite some time when I heard the boots of the driver make their way toward me. "Good. I thought you were dead." I heard the oddly high-pitched voice of the driver announce on his way up to me. I was blinded by the headlights and it was dark, so I didn't get a very good look at the driver until I was in the passenger seat and we were going 85 down the highway. My nearly dead heart stopped when I looked over and saw a shaved-head, skinny white guy covered in black tattoos behind the wheel and realized it was a scratched-up Bad Brain CD playing on the car stereo. I grabbed the handle of the door. Would I die upon impact if I jumped out going almost 90? I surely would. I convinced myself that the guy's looks and musical preference was simply a horrifying coincidence and closed my eyes. I said one more thing before I drifted off to sleep. "Just wake me up before you stop if you're going to." "Good deal," my driver answered. "Don't worry, they'll find me if I stop moving too."